His pilgrimage coming to an end, the final journey could begin. After many months of travel, in a land veiled by ash, Sorcerer and his enthralled druids laid eyes finally upon the plateau his sacred tome had spoken of. Sorcerer knelt at the foot of the chapel, reciting a brief prayer. He had travelled many hundreds of miles, and now he would restore glory to the area previously known as Cinis, in honour of the Blinded One. Welcome to Season 3 of Settlers. In this season we'll be constructing an arcane religious settlement on Siptah in the Isle of Dusk. The name of this settlement is Cinis, and to fit with the dark arcane theme of this season, we'll primarily be using Stormglass and Stormglass Cathedral. Additionally, this season is already available in its entirety on Patreon, and just before the final episode releases here on the 19th of May, $10 patrons and above will get a special alternative ending. If that intrigues you, head over to the Patreon linked in the description or the pinned comment. For this first build in Cinis, we need to start with the chapel, the foundation of the entire settlement. I started off with, of course, the base plate. I used pillars and ceilings to construct the base plate to keep things simple and to set up the corners for pillars later on. Once I'd finished the base plate, I then placed pillars in the corners using the pillar trick. I'd already placed a few walls to mark out where I wanted the windows, which you will see shortly. I also then, when the pillars were placed, walled off the bottom of the ceilings to merge the build into the landscape. Next, I built up the walls. I built them 2 tiles high using the window tops from the Stormglass Cathedral set. I placed a double doorway at the entrance of the build and some stairs to access it easily. Next, I constructed some simple open gabled roof mounts that I would later mount the roof onto. I also included gables on the longer sides to break the flow of the roof and create a bit more shape in the roof design overall. I then used alcove pieces from the Stormglass Cathedral set to shape the interior of the chapel near the shrine section at the back and in the 4 main corners. Finally, I built up the roof. I built a very simple roof to fit the flow of the gables I placed earlier, and I then rose a central section up out of the roof. I connected these to the buttresses running up the side of the chapel by extending them out and using the flying buttress pieces to connect to the central rising section. Once I'd placed those flying buttresses, I built the walls of the rising section up and added some vaulted ceilings inside. I then used inverted sloping sides to cover the gaps between the riser and the lowest roof, then building up the rest of the riser, replacing the missing roof pieces, and building an open gabled roof atop the riser. I finally finished off the buttress extensions with Stormglass rooftop pieces to close off the build. Breaching the doors of the ancient chapel, little remained inside but the dust-coated pews strewn across the room. The room was stalked by ancient statues carved of black stone, surrounding an unlit brazier in the centre of the hall. Stepping forth and lighting that brazier, Sorcerer looked ahead to the altar. Nothing lay there but ruin, just as his mysterious book had described. Sorcerer took a knee in the flame of the brazier, reading deeper into the scroll, words that had become his obsession over the months of his pilgrimage. He fixated back onto the words, sacrificial circle. Leaving his druids to clean up the chapel, Sorcerer retreated to the northeastern corner of the plateau, to the mouth of a shallow cave. Peering inside, he found exactly what he was looking for, a small, circular platform, just as the tome had foretold. Though lashed with moss, this was indeed a functional sacrificial circle. Drawing a ritual dagger from his boot, Sorcerer began to prepare the area. Through blood, and by the blade, Cinis will rise once more for the blinded one behind the veil.